Hey gang, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. I'm sitting here at a Boondockers Welcome in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And today is February 1st, 2025. I'm going to be totally transparent about what it is that I've just done because I did a thing. And I'm going to talk to you in a little bit of detail about how I came to this decision and hopefully share some stuff with you that'll help you decide whether or not this is something you want to do or when you want to do this thing. And the thing that we're talking about today is Social Security. First of all, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. Hope you get something out of this. As always, if you do, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought if you got something useful out of this. My goal this year, 2025, is to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're going to see if I can pull that off, and to grow my channel memberships and grow community. So if you don't know what a channel membership is, first of all, shout out to my two current members, Lisa and Barb. Thank you so much. Your contributions really help to keep this channel going. If you want to check out channel memberships, there's a link in the video description down below. And we're going to get right into this as soon as we run the intro.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
Let's talk about Social Security. So for me personally, my decision had been after I hit the road that I was going to just live off of my savings until I hit age 70, which I got a ways to go yet. A little over 2 years, actually. So now you know how old I am if you didn't know before. I was going to wait until age 70 because at the time it made sense to me to do that. It was going to be a difference of a little over $500 a month in what I could get each month. And I looked at that again last year, right around this time. So every January, the cost of living increase goes into effect for Social Security, so you can see what's going to be coming up. And when I looked last year, it was going to be a little over almost $600 a month, actually, come to think of it. Difference in what I was going to get if I started collecting last year or if I waited until age 70. Well, I just looked this morning, and the difference is for me, and it's going to be different for everybody. The difference for me between starting to collect in February of 2025 and waiting until March of 2027 was only going to be $335. That started making me think about this a little bit differently. And I decided to do this video. So, all right, so here comes the big disclaimer, guys. I don't want to hear a bunch of political comments. I don't care what your political views are, just as I think you probably don't care what mine are. But I'm going to say this because it may have an impact for some of you in how you think about this differently. Our current administration, federal administration, is handling things differently than they ever have been before. And part of that is eliminating a lot of federal jobs. That's the goal. And on the one hand, that may be great. On the other hand, it may not be great. Don't care about any of that. What I care about is the fact that it may influence, first of all, your ability to be able to timely get your Social Security application processed, because if there are fewer people working, it's going to take longer to get stuff done. And secondly, depending on what happens with this administration, we already know that Social Security is in trouble and that benefits, as of our last administration, by 2035, benefits may need to be reduced if there is not additional funding that comes available. Whole lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to get into all that stuff because it's not important to this video, but it is some basic stuff that you ought to know. And so that was with our previous administration. 2035 was, when things were going to start to get potentially serious. With our current administration and all the cuts that are being put into place and some of the tax code changes that are being proposed, we could be in a situation where the available benefits will reduce sooner than they would potentially otherwise have done so. Again, please don't give me a bunch of political comments. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear who you're for, who you're against. It doesn't matter. Facts are facts. And we're only talking about facts here, not about whether or not what's going on is right or wrong. Okay, fair enough? And oh, by the way, I'll just say that if you're giving me a bunch of stuff about, you're pro or anti our current administration, your comments will be deleted. Sorry, just the way it is. Don't want a bunch of political stuff. But that contributes to why I made the decision to move forward with this now. But I didn't just, I mean, actually, those were further down my line of decision. The first thing that hit me was, how big a difference is $335 a month? At $335 a month, that's $4,000 a year, which is not an insignificant amount of money. And that's part of the reason that I was delaying collecting Social Security. Common wisdom had been that the break even point is waiting until age 70 to collect benefits. The break even point hits at age 82. So at age 82, I would have been better off waiting until age 70 to collect my benefits. If you're not going to live to age 82, then you want to collect sooner. That was always the common wisdom. And so, based on the common wisdom, I was delaying. However, all the things I just said about what's coming up right now apply to this as well. So, essentially, I'm giving up $4,000 a year by choosing to take my Social Security benefits in February of 2025. However, that's only part of the story. So, I don't really have anybody to talk to about this, right? So I went to ChatGPT. Yep, I went to AI to make a financial decision. And that sounds a little bit crazy in and of itself. Here are some of the things that you need to know about AI. In order to get useful information from an AI bot, you have to give it a very specific prompt. You've got to write the prompt in a way that's going to get the answer that you're looking for, because otherwise you may get an answer that's entirely different. And keep in mind, AI still lies. It doesn't always tell the truth, and I was a little bit concerned about that. So I started my chat with GPT, explaining what my current circumstances are, what my savings account is, and that's what I've been living off of, plus the fact that I was actually going to run out of my regular savings account about 2 months before I hit age 70, spending at the rate that I'm spending now. So I gave it that information. I told it what my Social Security payment would be at age 70, what it would be at my current age, if I start in February, and asked the question, what would my financial circumstances be purely from a Social Security standpoint if I took that difference of $335 a month and invested it in a savings account that pays 3.6%, which, by the way, is like the lowest I'm getting on any of my savings. Not investments are different. I asked GPT to tell me what the difference would be in total income if I waited until age 70 to collect Social Security versus beginning to collect it now and investing the difference of $335 a month for the time period from now until age 95. So we're calculating out to age 95. And the answer came back that I would actually get approximately 5% more if I started collecting Social Security now. So that's pretty cool, right? So that was the beginning of this journey. And then I went down a whole bunch of different rabbit holes with GPT. And I said, all right, well, what if I don't reinvest that $335? What if I take the remaining amount of my savings account, which remember is going to be depleted 2 months before I hit age 70? What if I take that money and put it in with my investments, which are earning an average return of 6.5%? What does that look like? Well, that looks like a whole lot better situation. And so that's actually that's the short circuit. That's what my decision is. As soon as the Social Security starts coming in, I'm going to take a significant portion of my remaining savings account, dump it into my investments for long-term growth, and then I am actually saving a pretty big chunk by most people's standards as an emergency fund in my regular savings account, which will be completely ignored because I'm going to live off of Social Security. And with the amount of Social Security that I will be getting, I should actually be saving a little bit of that money as well without making any changes to my lifestyle. Now, this is all about me, and I get that. Your circumstances are going to be different, but I just want to share with you what I have decided to do and how I made that decision because I think it might be useful to you to have that information to make a more informed decision for yourself. So then with GPT, we also started examining. I mean, my big concern has been, am I going to run out of money before I die? And I plan to live a really long time because most of the people in my family live a long time, well into their 90s, mid 90s. So it seems likely that I will as well, since I'm actually healthier than all of them. I'm almost, I'll be 68 next month, 68 years old. I don't take any medications. I don't have any illnesses or any kind of long term ongoing issues. I expect to live a really long time. Other members of my family have had cancers. They've had respiratory illnesses, all kinds of long term stuff that I haven't had any issues with. So I'm hopeful. We'll see what happens. And I had tried looking at this previously in terms of, I mean, I came to the conclusion that if I didn't start collecting Social Security and just used up my savings, I was going to be able to live okay. I was not going to run out of money. But looking at the projections the GPT did for me, things are looking comparatively rosy, actually, um, which is really nice. It's nice not to feel like you got to be scared about money. And I feel really kind of relaxed about it after having gone through this exercise. So some of the things that GPT helped me look at were okay, so what happens? I've been on Medicare for several years, so that's not an issue. What happens if I start collecting Social Security? What are the impacts going to be toward my long term financial success? And basically, what it comes down to is I'm, by many people's standards, in a somewhat enviable position. Basically, all of my investments are are non-taxable because I've already paid tax on the monies that are in there. Now, my returns on my investments are taxable, but the basic investments themselves are not because I already paid taxes on all of that. So that's one aspect of this. One of my concerns has been long-term care. What happens if I do get sick? What happens if I've got, really big medical bills that or long-term care bills, because my medical bills will pretty effectively be covered by Medicare because of my Part G supplement plan. I'll put a link to that video up here, I think. I think it goes over here. Whatever. Wherever it goes. Um, but long-term care is an issue, and I thought that I was beyond the age to be able to buy a long-term care policy that would make any sense. So GPT actually presented me with three alternatives. One is a hybrid insurance policy, which is one where you make an annual premium or a monthly premium, and it's kind of in the event that you don't need long-term care, then there's a in the event that you don't need long-term care, then there's a death benefit that goes to your heirs. Well, I don't care about that. And those premiums are more expensive than if you just bought a straight long-term care policy. There's a conventional long-term care policy. Again, in that case, you're paying a premium hedging the bet that you're going to need it. But if you don't need it, it's just lost money. And then the third alternative is to fund an annuity, for me, starting at age 70, of a fairly significant portion of money. And I'll give you the numbers. In my case, if I fund an annuity at $100,000 at age 70, if I don't need long-term care until at least age 85, starting at age 85, I'll be able to pull $50,000 a year from my annuity for long-term care, and I still will not have touched any of my investments, and that'll get me through my mid-90s. Now, if it turns out I don't need long-term care, then that annuity just becomes another part of my estate. Now, one of the other things that I told GPT is I don't have any kids or grandkids. I don't really have anybody I'm trying to build a wealth legacy for. So I'm a-okay with spending my money, and, you know, if that's what happens, that's what happens. I just want to make sure I have enough that I make it to the end of my life without being destitute and not having the funds to do what I need and want to do to a large extent. So, after all of that, we ran through a whole bunch of different scenarios. I kept asking different questions, and GPT kept giving me suggestions about, would you like me to run this kind of analysis or that kind of analysis? And we did a bunch of different things. And then, and this one's really important, guys. Remember the part where I said that GPT will lie to you? I don't think it does it deliberately. It might, I don't know. But I asked the question to give me the probability that the information it has given me for each of these aspects of my financial future is correct, as opposed, and then is correct. And then I said, What I am asking is, are you telling me lies, or is this truthful information that you're providing? And what's the probability that this is true? And it came back with percentages between 70 and 95%, depending on which category it was talking about. So things like long-term care, it said its probability of my needing long-term care, can't predict. Right now, I'm healthy. Who knows? So that was a pretty low probability. That was like 70 to 80%. In terms of not running out of money, that was 90 to 95% based on all the things we talked about. So that made me feel really, really comfortable. And after having finished that chat with GPT and before I hopped on to make this video for you, I went to the Social Security Administration and filed for Social Security. Today is February 1st, and I mentioned that because my option is to have that be effective as of February of 2025 or any other date from, I think it was August of 24 until August of 25. And I decided to just let's make it February of 2025. What that means most likely, I think, is that I'll be getting a couple of catch-up payments once I get this thing processed. And so I'm going to just wait until I start getting money in. Once that money comes in, then I'm going to take most of my remaining savings, chunk that into investments, and move on down the road. So I hope you got something out of this, that you found something helpful. Um, if you did, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you learned. And here's another thing, you can leave a comment on any video. If you've got questions about anything that you'd like me to address, leave a question. It will most likely turn into another video because it's just easier to do that sometimes. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. I think that's it for now. We'll see you next time.